DST SERB, Government of India. Apart from that, she has on her credit many awards: Asian University Alliance, AUA Scholar Award. She has completed her PhD from IIC Bangalore, then MTech from IIT Bombay, and then bachelor's from Jadavpur University. So during her PhD also, she has received many awards, including Endeavour Research Fellowship, which was by Government of Australia, Fulbright Nehru Research Fellowship, one of the most prestigious fellowship, and Berkner Travel Grant of the American Geophysical Union, and so many others. And apart from that, Professor Arpita is a very kind human who has accepted our invitation and agreed to spare her valuable time sharing her own experiences as well as additional information, giving on career opportunities or information on opportunities in science and engineering after BE and BTech. So thank you so much, Professor Arpita, and the platform is yours.
Thanks a lot, Shalini, for the wonderful introduction. Thank you very much. It's absolutely my pleasure to be speaking to this audience today, and thanks to Inyas and INSA for giving me this opportunity so that I can help if anybody benefits from this information that I'll be sharing today. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, I'll just put it in the slideshow mode. Right. So today we'll discuss some options with a career in academia in general in mind. But of course, you can, this is generally applicable if you are looking for higher studies options. And then later on move on to industry. That's also perfectly fine. I think some of the information that I'll be sharing with you today will benefit you. I'll try to keep my presentation limited to 30 minutes. So we have another 30 minutes for taking questions from the participants. My name is Arpita, as Dr. Shalini already mentioned to you. I have provided my email address below. You will also find it in the Department of Civil Engineering, IIT Bombay's website. So if you have any questions at any point of time, feel free to reach out to me. I might be a little slow in responding to individually, I will. So you already have been introduced to my career path so far, but I thought I'll just also quickly highlight some my whole journey, where and how I ended up here. So I did my bachelor's in civil engineering from Jadavpur University in Kolkata, which is one of the oldest universities in Bengal and in the country in general. And then I did my MTech in water resources engineering in IIT Bombay. And after that, I was placed in a consulting firm, one of the big four consulting firms, Ernst & Young. But I ended up realizing that, I'm not particularly enjoying working there. So I quit my job and I started working on a research position in IISc Bangalore, and following which I also joined for my PhD there in IISc in the Water Resources and Environmental Engineering Division of the Civil Engineering Department. During my PhD, I was actually supposed to travel to 2 universities abroad. I chose, I traveled to UNSW in Sydney, where I spent about 6 months. I was also supposed to go to Columbia University to spend another 6 to 9 months there, but ended up not going. Post my PhD, I worked briefly as a postdoctoral research associate for about 6 months in the Devacher Center for Climate Change, which is an interdisciplinary center in IISc Bangalore. And following that, so here I have an interesting story to share. When I had just defended my PhD thesis, I think I defended in December, and sometime in Jan or February, I was called for this faculty alumni networking meeting, which was themed on energy and climate. So every IIT, or most of the old IITs actually, carry out these programs, which are called faculty alumni networking events, where, young people who have recently completed their PhDs are kind of told about the opportunities and the possibilities of growth in a career in academia, in staying in the IITs. So it's basically to lure good guys and girls to come back as a faculty position, as faculty of IITs, and Usually, particularly in IIT Bombay, such events used to always be held abroad, mostly in the US because of the different alumni network chapters. But that particular year, it was held inside India for the first time with a view to attract good PhD students from within India. I mean, if not the first, it probably was first of the few years. So that time it was held in Goa, and I was invited for that. And the director gave us a wonderful talk on the possibilities of IIT Bombay. And of course, I had studied here, so I knew the campus. I knew everything about this campus. So I wanted to come back. And this place, IIT Bombay, was fortunately the only place I had applied to. So I had kept some plan Bs, but luckily I didn't have to go there. So I was selected. And that's when I joined here. So I joined, oops, that's a mistake in the slide. So I'm actually here from 2015 onwards, Assistant Professor IIT Bombay, 2015 onwards. The reason kept this slide is because everybody understands civil engineering, generally speaking, as something to do with buildings or roads and bridges. But my work is essentially not at all related. Well, not at all, but far remotely connected to all that. My primary focus is to study what happens to rain when it falls on the ground and how all of that is changing because of climate change. And you do see there that I tried my hands at something and I didn't like it, and I came back. And it's important to also note these because not everybody is meant to do everything. It's very important to realize what you like doing. Sometimes we are lucky enough to understand it early in our lives. Sometimes it may take time, and that's perfectly fine. Now, here at IIT Bombay, I am associated, of course, with civil engineering, but this is a very interesting interdisciplinary program in climate studies, which started in 2012. And this is the first doctoral program in India which is focused on climate change. And with all, everybody now knows how important climate change is. We are, for example, in the month of March here in Bombay, we recorded last week a temperature of 40.9 degrees Celsius. So we see how the world is getting warmer, and it has lots and lots of implications on the whole climate system of this earth. So this is a program which is focused on addressing these issues. It's not just science, but it's also related to policy, humanities, social sciences, and all of that. So I'm associated with both these two departments. I'm also associated with the Center for Urban Science and Engineering, another interdisciplinary program. I'll come to some interdisciplinary opportunities later on in my talk. So where are we located? We are, of course, located in the beautiful and seductive city of Bombay, and we are in one of the most beautiful parts of Bombay, which is also very close to a national park. We have a lake inside our campus, and also a lake bordering outside of it, the Vihar Lake and the Powai Lake. The Powai Lake is actually within our campus, so you can actually go to the lake shores within our campus. We have excellent biodiversity. Here I'm showing you some fauna, but lovely, both flora and fauna, wonderful biodiversity you can actually experience. Go out on walks, see all these birds in action. It's amazing. And we do have some interesting predators also. So that's the Powai Lake. We have the crocodile in there. And here we have a green vine snake snacking on a lizard. So all this is from the campus. My team, as they say that we have to stand on the giants of shoulders to rise real high. But in this case, I am standing on the shoulders of my minions, who are all these lovely students. I've been lucky to have a bunch of very bright students from different parts of the country. And I can actually take a little bit of pride in saying that we have achieved quite a good gender ratio here also. 50% of my students are actually female students. My collaborators, why I wanted to tell you about my collaborators is, again, to emphasize on the fact that science cannot progress in silos anymore. We have to, because the problems that we are facing are interdisciplinary in nature, we have to look for solutions which are also interdisciplinary in nature. So, for example, I'm collaborating with Professor Chandra Venkatraman, who's actually an aerosol scientist, a chemical engineer. We have Professor Shubhimal Ghosh, who's in civil engineering, but I'm also collaborating with Professor Swagata Basu, who's a structural engineer. Professor Shubhankar, who's an environmental science and environmental engineering specialist. We have Pradeep Kalbar, who's an urban science and engineering specialist. I'm collaborating with Krishna Achutarao from IIT Delhi, who's an atmospheric scientist. Freddie Otto, who's a very renowned geographer. Chris Rudiger, who's a remote sensing specialist at Monash University in Melbourne. Lisa Stewart, who's working as a hydrologist in the UK. And Tim Peterson, who's a civil engineer in Monash University. So I wanted to emphasize not only the different areas in which we are working, but geographically also it's very important to widen our wings and reach out as much as possible. The more you collaborate, the more different perspectives you are expected to gain. And all of that is actually going to help you in not just research, but whatever you do, really, you will get a different perspective on life in general. So one question is, why should I be in academia? I'm going to list down some traits in my next slide, which will help you decide if you are really indeed fit to choose a career in academia. But before that, often it is perceived by the common people that teaching is perhaps the only thing we do. And that's certainly not the case here. In fact, I had written one, particularly my own family, I found it really hard to convince them that today I don't have any. Yes. May I request all participants to mute your mics, please? And then once I'm done, I'll give you an opportunity to ask questions. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so academia doesn't mean only teaching. And this I particularly found hard convincing my own family, because they used to believe that if I don't have a class on a particular day, it means I have a leave or a holiday or something on that day, which certainly is not the case. And in this cartoon that I have put in here, you can actually see what all are the activities expected from a role as faculty in any university for that matter. And research is a big component of that, but not just research or teaching. We do have a lot of administrative activities. We have a lot of outreach activities. And luckily for me, I love all of that. So I love interacting with people. I love teaching. I love doing research. So like I said, it's a career that I chose. But the stream that I happened to be in, that happened fairly by chance. I cannot say that I really wanted to work on hydrology or climate change. What had happened was when we are doing undergrad, we tend to have some prejudices, and we tend to have like really narrow vision of what civil engineering is. And I remember we had this perception that if you're not doing structural engineering, you're perhaps not doing civil engineering. So something happens, and my GATE score, for example, was not that great. So it happened by chance that I got water resources engineering at IIT Bombay, and because I really did not mind, for me, learning more was more important than what am I learning. So I went into water resources engineering by accident. But now when I look back at it, I'm really, really proud that accident happened, because if you look at all good universities abroad, or even the career opportunities, there is so much to do in this particular field. So although my stream came by accident, I'm actually very much proud of that accident. So these are some subjects which I teach, related to fluid mechanics and hydraulics and hydroinformatics, hydrology, a little bit of applied statistics and machine learning. And what more I would like to teach would include, lots of statistics. I love statistics, and statistics form a very important part of my research also, and a little bit of climate change or its impacts and this and Dr. Shalini has already told you what my research is on. So basically, you see some images of floods, of heat waves, of droughts, and we are studying all these, extreme events and what causes them, how they're likely to change in future, what can be their impacts, and so on. So now, coming to you. Are you someone who should choose a career in academia? Let's discuss what that career would entail. And then we'll talk about the pathways to reach that end. So if you are someone who loves exploring new ideas, if you're someone who doesn't care too much about money, if a certain threshold is met, I'm not saying money is not important in life, it is. But as long as a certain threshold is met, you are not, I mean, what do I say? Greedy is not a term that I want to use. But if you're someone okay with earning a little less as compared to your peers, then it is. If you're someone who finds the comfort of doing who finds the comfort of repetitive work boring, so what I mean by that is you might want you there are some of us who might be feeling comfortable or safe staying within a certain territory. But if you are someone who likes to challenge that fence, that the boundary again and again and again, then academia is the place for you. If you do not like to work under a boss, if you do not like to have defined targets, because academia is the place which will give you freedom to choose what are the problems that interests you, and what are the things that you want to investigate, what are the solutions that you want to propose. All of that freedom you will get in academia. You will get to travel and meet many new people. If you are someone who likes challenges, if you are someone who likes storytelling and writing, this is one aspect I don't think we put enough focus on when we are building perspective people in academia, our students. We don't tell them that doing science is not just about doing science, but also communicating it. How are you effectively able to tell your stories? Why should the general public be interested in funding? We are using the taxpayers' money. Why should the general public be interested in funding our work? How can we communicate it effectively? When we put a figure, what can be the best graphic design to express those very results? So all of that, this is also a part of academia. Being inquisitive is, of course, a quality that is totally indispensable. You have to be someone who likes going out and about. If you're comfortable staying in the same well, then it's not academia, probably is not the career for you. And last but not the least, this will shed your blood, sweat, and tears. This is probably true about other career options also, but in academia, eventually, in the long run, the journey might seem lonely and difficult, but I can also assure you that it is as much rewarding and enriching and fulfilling. So if you are someone who ticks many of these qualities, then really, academia should be the place for you. It should not be the place for you because your friend has chosen that particular career, because your mother and father want you to choose this career, or there's a certain social strata you may expect, social respect you may expect in this career. No, those are not the right reasons. The right reasons is whether you are interested in having a career in academia and whether you qualify for these traits or not. So then the next question comes is when you should choose such a career. Ideally, the last year of your BE BTech is some time when you need to sit back and reflect. If, let's say, you are too confused and you don't want to commit to a degree program, then there is an option for the IRF or the research assistantship options. It can vary between 6 months, 3 months, 6 months, a year, depending on the research project that you have been funded with. GATE is mandatory for most research positions in the country, particularly if it is funded by the MHRD or the DST, the two main funding agencies, or any other ministries also. I think GATE score is becoming more and more compulsory. So if you do have a valid GATE score after your BE or BTech, you are eligible for these research positions, which are temporary, and it gives you a little bit of a window to decide, whether you're ready to commit for a degree program or not. If, let's say, you have enrolled in an MTech program, then again, GATE is mandatory to be enrolled in MTech programs in most IITs and IISc. Oh, I see someone scribbling on the screen, probably Mr. Subhash. Thank you very much. I would prefer no scribbling on my slides, please. Thank you. Yeah. So after your masters, you can take a call whether you want to stay in a career in academia or not. You might want to go to an industry after your MTech. In fact, even after your PhD, you can decide to choose your career. It can be either in industry or in research labs or in academia. After a year or two in the industry, you can come back to academia, either do higher studies or start taking up a faculty position if you are interested and if you're eligible. But here, there's one point which I would like to emphasize is this story from the movie Matrix, which I commonly use with my students. So here is Morpheus giving Neo the two pills, the red pill and the blue pill. The blue pill is actually an opportunity for Neo to go back to his old life, and he'll be in his comfort, and he'll be happy doing whatever he's doing. But the red pill is the one which will present to him an opportunity to go through challenges, but it will also take him into the matrix, and it will also show him that wonderland. So if you are someone who has settled down with the blue pill, it'll be difficult for you to come back. Like, for example, if you're too comfortable with a certain amount of salary that you are getting, with a certain amount of lifestyle that you have been used to, it sometimes become very difficult to actually throw the blue pill out and inject the red pill, which is the path of difficulty. The path of difficulty is also the path of the wonderland. So make sure you are not getting into this zone of being too comfortable wherever you are in. It's generally not a good sign. You have to keep pushing yourself for new challenges. Then comes the question of internships. So how many should you have and when should you have? 2 is ideal. 1, and this is particularly for BTech students I'm talking about. 1 in the industry and 1 in academia is the ideal. You can go for the industry internship after the second year. Most of the industry internships are paid. In academia, again, whether you choose it in the summer break of the second year or third year, it's not important, but ideally if you get exposed to both the industry and the academia, it should be ideal for you. You may actually be better informed to decide what interests you more. Okay. For the internship in academia, you need to write to faculty members. Now here I have 2 important points to make. The first one is you have to be very careful when you are writing to faculty, because faculty is busy. Let's face it, everyone is busy these days. Unless you write in a very, very concise, short, and to the point email, most people will not respond. So write only once, send a good CV, and be very respectful. This is one important point. The other important point is please do a little bit of homework before writing to faculty members. I get emails which use the wrong gender, or which are generic emails to all the faculty members in civil engineering. There are 52 faculty members in civil engineering at IIT Bombay, and if you are writing to all of them saying that your area interests me, it's possibly not true, because you cannot be interested in 52 widely different areas, right? So please don't copy and paste the same email, and think about, put yourself in the shoes of the other person and try to see what would catch your attention if you were that faculty member. What should you write in your email to catch somebody's attention? And here I have a good anecdote to share. There was one motivational speaker whose workshop I had attended in Australia, and that person had lost his arm, the right arm. He lost in a car accident. And he said that and he was, of course, he won many awards, the most promising young Australian, the most motivational young Australian, some such awards he had received. And he was really, he was a very eloquent speaker. So when he was speaking, Harshal Yeram, would you stop scribbling on my slides, please? Thank you. So when he spoke to us, he told us that when he met the Australian Prime Minister, he was using this artificial arm, and he actually broke the arm and gave it in the Prime Minister's hand, and she was literally scared. But he also said that by doing that one little freaky thing, I also made sure that she remembers me, the meeting with me, because she is probably meeting, the Australian Prime Minister is probably meeting 100 different peoples every single day. What can you do to stand out from the crowd? Think about all of this before you write to a faculty member. Do not copy paste the same email to 50 different people, right? So spend a little more thought and do your homework before you approach others. There are many institutes which organize summer schools. Many of them are also free. For example, here at IIT Bombay, in the climate studies program, we have a summer school, which is usually held in the month of July. And last year, of course, it was virtual, but before that, we used to have the summer school in person. And there we expect, this is, I think, the final and pre-final, the third and fourth year BTechs, as well as the final year MTechs, they are all eligible to attend this particular workshop. And not just that, they are paid, they're reimbursed their train fares, the journey fare. They are also provided free food and lodging. So there are many summer schools like this. Keep an eye out for that. And for keeping an eye out, what should you do? Please join the different communities. You have social media at your disposal. This is one advantage which the older generation didn't have. So you have different forums, you have different Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. You have all these places where there are communities which discuss these kind of opportunities, where you can see posts related to this. Most faculty members will have their own LinkedIn or Twitter handles where they keep posting about what they are doing in their lives. All you need to do is just click one follow tab and you'll get all the updates. And whenever you see something that interests you, you please write to them. Why I'm saying this is, we tend to use this social media only for instant gratification purposes, or to generally do some entertainment or time pass. Instead of that, please make sure you are the one who's using social media, and social media is your slave and you are not being a slave to them. So now, let's say now one has decided that, okay, I want to do a PhD. I know that exploring these new ideas, research, all of this excites me. So what do I need to do? Wherever you want to decide, wherever you want to go for your PhD, whether it's in India or abroad, you have to satisfy some eligibility criteria. So if you're interested in particular programs, go to their websites, read all about their eligibility criteria, and to satisfy them. Next, a very important step, have your own financial support to apply. Every IIT would require you to pay some fees. Of course, exceptions may include, affirmative actions. For example, there can be some exceptions where fee is not required, but every IIT might have a fee. Every university abroad will have a fee, and that will be significantly a larger amount of money because of the currency conversion. So you need to plan for that. Whether it's your money or somebody is helping you, you need to plan for how to best utilize that funding support. Apply. This is just to apply, okay? You have not even been selected. This is just to apply. Then you have to identify potential advisors, people. And this is the most important part, particularly in PhD, because in a PhD, you are simply not, it's not the case where 50 students are learning from the same instructor. It's a one-to-one relationship, and this has to work out. Your advisor and you must have a respectable relationship in order for you to do a PhD which would be fruitful. So make sure you find an advisor, talk to existing students of that advisor, see how that operates, what are the fundamental principles that he or she sticks to. Are you okay with those principles? So talk to that person, interact with that person. And if you don't have the chance to interact with that person yet, you can read up about them. Most people, I think 99% faculty have their own websites. So you can go through what they're really doing. Identification of potential advisor is a very important step. And then you have to write to them. Again, when you write to them, if you are not specific, if you are either too flattery or disrespectful, you have not done your homework, then please do not expect any replies. Okay. Lastly, you have to apply for funding. The good thing about doing research in India is that most of our research positions are funded by government money. So when you are selected, for example, for PhD for a TA position in IIT, MHRD is going to pay your expenses. So it's going to provide you a stipend, and which is actually reasonably a good amount of money. I'll come back to that later. So let's say if you are interested in doing a PhD, whether in India or abroad, these are the different steps that you have to keep in mind. Lastly, you have to prepare yourself for some of the toughest but most enriching experiences. One slide I'll spend on applying abroad, which is you must have somebody to talk to, a mentor or an advisor in India. It can be your parents, it can be your college professor, it can be your senior. So whoever it is, it can be more than one person also. Please talk to them. And ideally, if you can have an international journal publication, then it improves your application's merit by leaps and bounds. So that is one thing you should aim at. Maybe spend a year as a research assistant or do a master's and bring out a paper from your master's thesis and so on. You need letters of recommendation. And I've seen many people, I also get requests for letters of recommendation based simply on the courses that they have taken. So if I have taught hydraulics to someone, what else am I going to write in the recommendation letter that is already not there in the transcript? The grade that the student has received in that course is already reflected in the transcript. So please approach these carefully. Someone with whom you have had some experiences other than what is reflected in your transcript is important. So when you approach the professors or the industry people, whoever you're asking for letters of references, make sure you write something meaningful in the recommendation. For applying abroad, you need money, like I already said. It's better to spend some time in India, like I said, for doing all of this. Then comes the part of scholarship. Once you go there, who will fund your PhD? May I request all participants to please switch off their videos and mute their mics for now? Thank you. Okay, so scholarships can be either a scholarship which is independent of the university, or it can be university-specific scholarship also. Let us say, as an example, you are applying to Penn State for your graduate studies, or ETH Zurich for your graduate studies. That particular university, Penn State or ETH Zurich, might have, the university itself has lots of scholarships, either based on the research positions or based on teaching assistantships. So look out for those opportunities, or you can choose some government sponsored or some agency sponsored fellowships which are independent of the university. So for example, the Fulbright Fellowship allows you to choose, the Fulbright Fellowship is applicable for masters, not for PhD, but as if you are enrolled in a PhD program in India, as a part of your PhD, you can apply for a different category of fellowship. So that's the Fulbright Fellowship. Then I have listed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different fellowship opportunities. These fellowships allow you to choose the university of your choice within their country or region of interest. So please keep an eye out for all of this. This is about applying abroad. But the next question comes is doing a PhD in India necessarily bad? I have done all my degrees in India, and I can vouch and say an emphatic no to that question. Number one, the applications are cheap. Number two, you get to stay in a hostel environment. You get your, for example, in IIT Bombay, you will get food 4 times a day, cooked food in a plate when it comes in front of you. Although it may appear not to be a significant factor, but when you have to cook yourself 4 times a day, you will realize that it is. So again, you don't have to do your grocery shopping. If you are choosing for a PhD abroad where all these facilities are not available, you will be entirely on your own. And there's a term for that called adulting. So that will be a lot of adulting in a very short amount of time. You have to get used to that kind of lifestyle. You may have to face hostile weather if you're going to cold climates, for example. While doing a PhD in India, it is possible to have an international exposure with a little extra effort, like I said, about particular fellowships which allow PhD students in India to go abroad for a short term. By short term, I mean 6 to 9 months or a year. With a little extra effort, that is also possible. So you can get international exposure while doing a PhD in India also. Your family may be closer to you. You would need not, your family will not need a visa to visit you. And then if your work is computational, if all you need is a computer and you are solving mathematical models or numerical computational work you are doing, then it does not matter whether you are solving those equations sitting in a lab in MIT or you're solving the same equation sitting in Bombay. So that does not matter. And then the last important, although it may seem a little trivial, but the last factor is that if eventually you want to settle in India, then you already know the system very well, right? So that's another advantage. Okay. Lastly, if you still want to settle abroad, you still can. I know a couple of my seniors who had all their education in India, but they settled for excellent, very fruitful careers in academia abroad. All right. So let me see how much time do I have?
Yes, no problem, Professor Arpita. You can talk. You have time.
I'll take maybe another 5-10 minutes to wrap up.
10 minutes.
Yeah. So some advantages of doing a PhD in IIT Bombay. Well, we already know how attractive IIT Bombay is. I have listed some interdisciplinary programs. Again, I'll come. I wanted to talk about some specific opportunities which are better than the low-paying. When we still have a lot of reservations in most families in India. The attitude generally is that if you can get a job, you do a job. So if you have earned education enough to get a job, you should go for a job. But I wanted to show some interesting programs which not only allow you to have international exposure. For example, here in IIT Bombay, we have the IITB Monash Research Academy program, where the student will get a joint degree from IIT Bombay and Monash University. I know of an equal opportunity in IIT Delhi, which is called the IIT Delhi University of Queensland program. So please keep, IIT Bombay also has a MOU with the University of Washington. So lots of collaborative PhD programs are also possible. All you need to do, again, is, like I said, to do a little bit of homework. And then another important factor is the Prime Minister's Research Fellowship, where really the amount of funding one gets is not only good, but significantly higher than most of the freshman jobs in the industry. So even with the regular scholarships that one may expect from the MHRD or the DST funded fellowships, if you compare the quality of life vis-a-vis the amount of money that you can save, I don't really, honestly, I mean, we can do a back of the envelope calculation. So if, let's say you are in the industry, you are earning so much, but you're also spending in house rent, in food, in general, hiring house help, etc. Subtract all those expenses, calculate how much you're able to save, and vis-a-vis the amount of scholarship that you may get for your master's or PhD, the regular government scholarship, and the amount of money you will be spending in hostel expenses, and the rest goes all in savings, vis-a-vis the quality of life, you will see that it's not really a bad trade-off. I mean, in fact, in many cases, I will consider a degree to be a better trade-off, and at the end of it, it also gives you a degree. So consider all these factors. I would also suggest going for direct PhD after a BTech if you are too convinced that you are ready to commit 4 to 5 years for research. Then it's okay to not do a master's and go directly for PhD after your BTech also. You will not be judged later on, in most cases, for not having a master's. So that's also another option that you may explore. What are some of the interdisciplinary programs? Now, let's say we know that I have gotten my BE or BTech in civil engineering. Then what do I do? I apply for master's or PhD in civil engineering, and many people will stop at that. But wait, read the whole application brochure. What are the programs where civil engineers are eligible? In IIT Bombay, I can give you some examples, and in also in IIT Bombay, you have the climate studies program where you can do a PhD after your BTech in civil engineering, any branch. You can go for atmospheric oceanic sciences in ISC, in IIT Delhi, in IIT Kharagpur. You can go for energy studies. You can go for environmental science and engineering. The first four interdisciplinary programs that I have listed above take civil engineers, mechanical engineers, chemical engineers, and even some basic sciences and humanities and social sciences also. We have, if you are electronics, computer science focused, then some interdisciplinary programs may be nanoscience and engineering, systems and control. The last one, applied mechanics, is again for civil engineers, mechanical engineers. So please read the whole application brochure if you're interested in a particular institute. Please read the whole brochure and find out what else can you apply for. There's no harm to apply to 3 academic units instead of 1. All right. So to summarize, let's say you have done a BTech in civil engineering. Then after for MTech, following MTech, you can convert directly to MTech PhD, or you can go directly after MTech. You can get your MTech and then do a PhD, or you can convert the MTech to a dual MTech PhD also. Then there are some IITs particularly which have an MS degree and a Master of Science. This is after engineering. It's called MS by Research. I know IIT Madras has such a program. So you can do an MS and not an MTech. And MS is more oriented towards research. You can either again choose an MS PhD dual, convert the MS to a PhD, or you can complete your MS and then go for a PhD. After BTech, you can also join the industry. Maybe you would like the flavor of an industry. Maybe it'll help you orient yourself towards having and working on more practical problems. Then you can go for, after industry, you stay in industry, or you go for a master's, or you go for a PhD directly after industry also, whichever. And then if you are not ready to commit for any degree programs, please aim for research assistant positions. You can write to professors whose work interests you and ask them if they have any projects. Or you can follow specific job sites also. IIT Bombay has its own job site, which is called the IRCC, Industrial Research and Consultancy Services Center. IRCC has its own website where all the research positions are advertised. They're also advertised in most common newspapers. So you have to keep an eye out, or you can write to individual professors saying, I'm interested in working with you. These are my experiences because of which I feel that I may be eligible and I might be able to contribute to this project, to any project that you are doing. And therefore, I would like to ask you, do you have a temporary position, maybe for 6 months, for 1 year, whatever your time frame is? Commitment is very important. Please don't commit to something which you cannot fulfill. Okay. After research assistant positions, it gives you a time window. You can decide what you want to do, MTech, PhD, whatever. And then the last option is you go for a PhD directly after BTech. After PhD, what do you do? After PhD, you can either stay in industry, you can join for a lecturer, assistant professor position, you can go for a postdoc and then industry, or go for a postdoc and then join academia. You can be in the industry and then join academia also. I know of cases where people have stayed 13, 14 years in academia after their in the industry after their PhD, and then came back to academia. So some ending thoughts I'll leave here. If you are doing engineering in India and if you're nearing completion, then in any case, the last thought I would like to emphasize is writing GATE is generally a good idea. Having a valid GATE score literally will open new gates for you. If you are planning to work or study in India, it gives you a lot of options. Then you can choose what really interests you. If you're planning for PhD abroad, of course, then you have country-specific requirements such as a GRE or a TOEFL or an IELTS or whatever. So I'll end with the thought that, you can choose whatever you like doing, but it's very important to stand out and pursue excellence in whatever you are doing, right? With that thought, I'll conclude. Yeah, Dr. Shalini, we can take questions. I think we have some important questions here.
Wow, thank you so much, Professor Arpita. It was like a very, very interesting talk, and so many opportunities are available. Only one has to, look for it, and the moment they see, they have to grab it. Of course, through your talk, you have also told students that how they can plan it from, when they are in third year of BTech and B, and they can plan from there only where they want to go, either industry, or they would like to go for a higher education, or they would like to become a professor. We have so many questions given asked by students, so I will take one by one. And audiences, you can post your questions directly to me or in the chat box. And thank you so much for posting very interesting questions. So I will take the first question. This question is from Azam Shah, and who would like to know that he did his BSc in physics and MSc in material science and MTech in nanoscience, and he also has a GET score and taken already admission in PhD nanoscience. And so kindly suggest if it is a very good option to become a professor at any of the university in India or IIT, or should the topic of PhD be changed? What is your comment?
Okay, so my comment would be the topic of PhD should not change based on what kind of job you want at the end of it. Are you happy doing what you are doing? Please answer that question first. I might be happy doing research at, I mean, need not necessarily be an IIT. I can be at any university, but still be happy about and feel satisfied and feel accomplished there, right? I know these days publications and science has become a lot more approachable for anyone. You know, in that journal that I'm editing for, we get papers from all sorts of countries as well as institutes in those countries also. Nobody is stopping you from doing good research wherever you are. Of course, there are systems which are limited, and we have to get to that. But it that you have that you already knew before entering the system, right? When I
Yes.
have entered IIT Bombay, I know that there I will be limited in a certain sense, and I will not possibly have addresses which are there in MIT, right? So if you are doing if you're happy doing what you are doing, and wherever you are, you please stay. Do not change it. But if you
Yeah.
feel, then if you're very keen on your target, then you look at your target. Then suppose you have a certain IIT in mind. I want to become a faculty in IIT Delhi. Then you go and check all the faculty members who are already working in IIT Delhi in your area of interest. What are their pedigrees? What kind of work they do? What kind of journals they publish in? Do you satisfy all of that? No. That's when you decide to change. Okay.
Wow, excellent. Thank you so much, Professor Arpita. We will move ahead with another question. So, as already you have mentioned that when one go look for or think about entering into academia, and but then how does doing a postdoctorate matters, or how does the number of publications affects your chances of getting recruited as a professor in a good university like IIT or any of the good university in India? Or do you think there are other factors that affect your standing in the competition?
Okay, so about the postdoc, I'll answer first. There are some streams where a postdoc becomes quite imperative. You know, a postdoc is basically an opportunity which is intermediate between working completely independently uh, and supervising your own students and being supervised by someone else. So it's an intermediate step between those two. It gives you a lot of it gives you a window to think about stuff, and take that as an intermediate step. I know of several streams, particularly in the sciences, where a postdoc is expected out of faculty applicants. The number of publications vis-a-vis the quality. Now, this is one aspect which we should talk about now a little bit, because everybody is jumping on this bandwagon. I have 10 papers, I have 15 papers, but wait, hold on a second. Are you proud of all those 10, 15 papers that you have produced? Is it the number or the quality that you should be looking for? So I want everybody to please stop here, take a break, and think a little bit about what numbers. I know of cases where people with 5 papers have been selected against candidate who had 15, 20 papers against their names also. So quality should never be compromised is what my personal opinion is. What can be some other factors? If you are looking for a position in any IIT eventually in your career, pedigree is important. Your own work in terms of quality, the journals that where you publish, the quality is important. Like, I cannot stress more on quality vis-a-vis quantity. So that's more important. And of course, the third important aspect is what people are talking about you, how your advisors or mentors or your peers are recommending you. So recommendation letters, pedigree, and publications, all of that matter on paper. In person, then you have to give a presentation. You have to convey and communicate what you are doing to other people and convince them that yes, you are really suited for the job. You have done enough homework, you are convinced that you are the right person for that job, and then show it also. So all that matters. Lastly, a little bit of luck is also important.
Wow, what a nice answer you have elaborated. Thank you, Professor Arpita. We have another question. So, how does the bachelor's or master's academic grade matters in entire academic career, or only does the research that we do in PhD or the work that we publish during our PhD matters more than the grades?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good question, actually. Uh, I can say that grades do matter. Maybe not too much, but they do matter. And it's generally a good idea like I said, as long as a certain threshold is met, after that, whether you have 8.5 or 9.2 doesn't matter. But if you have scored less than 60% in most of your academic career, but you have done great in research, then that becomes a little, it's a difficult situation to handle. It's generally a good idea to have a minimum threshold, and then like an 8, I'm just saying a number. I know of cases where somebody might not have done very well in their engineering, but they still have been able to do good. In the end, you have to excel in one thing or the other. Whatever you are doing you have to excel in one thing or the other. You should show some spark, otherwise you will not make it to the top. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much. We have one more question, which is asked by Ravi. And Ravi is asking that he's doing MTech in machine design from RTU Kota, and he's interested in research. And how should he look forward, and how can he select the topic, if at all he would like to, continue that?
Right. So if you are interested in working related to machine design, go to the websites of relevant departments. They may have different names. Like, for example, here in IIT Bombay, there is an industrial design center. In IISc, there is a CPDM, Center for Product Design and Manufacturing. But chances are that most of the IITs will have a department, an academic unit, which is relevant to what you are doing. Then you individually browse every single professor's research interests. Look at, most people also put out, like I have put out information about who all are the students working with me, what are they working on, what are my publications. If not, then you can simply search in Google Scholar for the particular person, and his whole list of publications, or her, I should say, whole list of publications are there in front of you. So, please do that little extra homework and find out what people are doing. It's very information is very accessible now. It was not 50 years ago or even 20 years ago. So when you have that advantage, please find out the information and then take a call for what is best suited to you.
Wow. We have another question. There are many questions, but I will be picking up, the one which are most genuine. Of course, all the questions are very good. So we'll see how the time goes. So this question is from Anand and who would like to know that for short-time research exposure abroad, can application be done during fourth year, or how to find fellowships, available abroad for such, abroad exposure?
Okay, so during BTech, you can go abroad on internships. For which again there are fellowships, for example the Commonwealth or the MITACS program, MITACS. There are some common fellowships which will fund your internship. Other than that, individual professors may also fund your internships. Unfortunately, for going abroad, you need to have a mentor in India first, who would tell you which are the global professors who you should target. Otherwise, it's an endless ocean. You don't know whom to approach. So that mentor in India can be either your college professor or your senior or even your parents or a relative who's working on that area. First, you need to zoom down, let's say 10, 15 places, some 10, 15 universities or professors globally that you have identified, and then you can write to them. Sometimes they may have funding available to fund your internship. So that's possible. But again, it requires some homework. If you want to go for a master's program abroad, then also there are scholarships available. Like I said, university specific scholarships, or you may have agency funded scholarships also. In all these social media websites, like Facebook or LinkedIn or Twitter, you will find that there are some communities. For example, higher education opportunities, PhD opportunities. If you are working in earth sciences, for example, there's an earth sciences networking group. Try and be a part of those groups and try and engage in fruitful conversations, rather than simply browsing who is your friend is doing what holiday he or she is taking, who are the friends he or she is hanging out with. Rather than doing that, you do these useful stuff instead.
Excellent. Now the next question, Professor, I'm going to ask is for 1,000 crore. It's a very, very important question. How to become faculty in IIT and what kind of questions are being asked during interview? I know this is going to be a very long, but you can briefly answer because this is like a dream. Everybody wants to be a faculty at IIT.
Right. So to become a faculty at IIT, the first thing you need to do is do a PhD. And in your PhD, you are also expected to do good quality of work, not just in terms of numbers. The word quality is important here. So while you are applying to an IIT, you would need to produce your CV. And in your CV, all throughout your academic performance is important, as long as a certain threshold is met. It's not the most important factor, but a minimum threshold is required. So your whole pedigree is important. What you have done in your PhD is also very important. What your referees, the people who are writing recommendation for you, what they are telling about you is also important. Once you satisfy, in most IITs, you can actually go to the websites. Suppose you are a civil engineer, then you can go to the Civil Engineering IIT Bombay's website. In the faculty recruitment advertisement, a minimum criteria is already mentioned. As long as excuse me, you satisfy that minimum criteria, then they'll probably call you for an in-person seminar, of course virtual in the COVID times. There you will have to present your work and communicate it. Then there will be other faculty in that area who will evaluate you. You have to show not only how useful your work is, but you also have to show how you are contributing to the growth of the department as well as to the institute as a whole, how you can contribute. All of that you have to show. Once they are convinced, then usually there is another round of interview where the other greater heads are present there. Sometimes external experts might also be invited, and there they will again judge you on your vision, more importantly than how many papers you have or what is your CGPA, etc. They will judge you for the vision that you have for the department and for the institute. So you have to do a lot of homework in that
Yes,
respect.
I'm sure it is not that easy, but yes, it is not even impossible if we do hard work and make a nice preparation and networking. And there are many factors. I'm sure the success is at your feet. Sachin would like to know, Professor Arpita, that for doing research assistantship, is it always that a gate score needed, or just skills and interest and knowledge can also help while applying for research
Mhm.
assistantship?
Yeah, so it depends on what that particular project is. If it is a DST funded project, and if the position is that of a JRF, then gate score or an MTech degree is mandatory. However, this is not the only research assistantship possible. There may be consultancy projects, there may be other projects which are funded by other partners, either industry or other agencies, where gate score need not be mandatory also. For this, you have to write to individual professors whose works interest you and ask them if they have any particular position, considering that you do not have a gate score. The first step towards this is to build a good CV. The CV should have useful information. And there are a number of videos also available in YouTube on how to write an effective CV, how to write effectively to potential employers. If you are writing an email saying, I am at here with attaching my CV, please tell me if there is an opportunity, nobody is going to open the attachment for you. You have to put yourself in the other person's shoes and realize, would you have opened the particular attachment if it were you? So please communicate effectively. That's what I want to say.
Wow. This question is from Sumanta, and post like RA post extensively available during this lockdown period, or has it significantly reduced pertaining to the situation that labs are not open to all, and was it before lockdown? How is the situation of this
Yeah,
lockdown?
that's a good question. I know the situation in IIT Bombay definitely was affected a bit because in IIT Bombay, because of severe shortage of accommodation, usually project assistants are not allowed accommodation inside campus. And outside of the campus, it was a little risky. So because of Mumbai being a hotspot for COVID, so it was indeed affected. Maybe in other IITs not as much, but I think now people are slowly moving on back on track. So hopefully it should be fine in the next few months again.
Okay. So there are many more questions, but which are very repetitive. How to get PhD admission in so and so specific area? How to go abroad? If I do not want to go for academic position and still would like to go for postdoc, so whether should I go for postdoc and then I go to industry? So these are some of the questions which are like very repetitive, and if you can briefly talk on those questions, it will be nice, Professor Apita.
Yeah, like I showed in the last summary flowchart, you can, it's like a river. You can flow from one stream to the other whenever you want to. No one will, I mean, of course there are some restrictions because of the system, but you can choose a career in industry even after a postdoc. There is no one who will stop you. Some new opportunities might also open up. You might realize that while doing a postdoc, maybe it's not science but science communication, that's what is interesting me more. Or even, like I said, after 10, 13 years in academia, somebody in industry, somebody might want to move to academia, or vice versa. All of that is possible. You need to, like I said, make sure that you are excelling in doing whatever you are doing. Unless you have stood out, there is no reason why the whole public will turn their heads and look at you.
Wow, Professor Arpita, this has been so wonderful, and you are so enthusiastic, energetic, and I couldn't stop myself asking questions. So, see, Vikram has already told me to, now already the time is up, but I am taking liberty to ask you one question, and being so, versatile, and having been there in admin and so many other positions, having so many awards, research, networking, collaboration, and being a very successful women scientist. How do you manage your career, time, professional, personal life? So because in India, particularly for women, young women scientists, they have to sometime, sacrifice their professional career for, their personal life, for children, for family. So what advice would you like to give them so that they get encouraged?
Thank you very much, Dr. Shalini, for asking that question. This is one thing I wanted to touch upon briefly, but I couldn't talk about in the slides. This is a very important question, and I can go on and on. I can speak for one whole day on this topic, but I'll keep it very brief. And to all the young girls out here, I'll have only one thing to say, which is, if you are setting yourself this expectation that you will be a good daughter, a good wife, a good mother, a good daughter-in-law, and then also become a great scientist, then this is an unrealistic expectation. You have 24 hours a day. You have to pick and choose what you like doing. One need not necessarily always prefer research over family. Somebody might be happily serving family. It's totally up to her. But if it is entrusted on you that you have to serve both together, then that situation becomes a little difficult. Sacrifice is a very hard word. Maybe a little adjustment sometimes, of course, is necessary, but at the end of the day, somebody had told this to me when I joined for my job, and that helped me a little bit. That is what I have to share with all of you also. It is okay to be wanting to do something you like doing. It is not being selfish. So it is okay to be a little not so good in some of the things and being good at doing what you do. It is okay. It is okay to be a little faulty in other duties if you really like to be a great researcher. It is okay.
Wow,
Things will fall in place.
I'm getting goosebumps after listening to these inspiring words, and that's how one thing I would like to add what you said for these young girls, listening to the inspiring and encouraging talks from the people like Professor Arpita, which will, boost you in life, ups and downs keeps coming, you inspire, and then again, you become, little bit nervous, and then you keep listening, have a friend circle who will motivate you. So with this, I would like to, end this session by giving an official vote of thanks, Professor Arpita. It was such an amazing, mesmerizing, enchanting talk, and I myself would like to grab some of the opportunities, become student. You have wonderfully and so smoothly and so simplified ways you told that these are some of the opportunities. So nice of you for taking your out time and then sharing your experiences, as well as, our audiences are also so happy, and they are like giving a lot of blazing, saying thanks a lot from their bottom of heart. And I would like to, on behalf of Indian National Science Academy and INIAS and INIAS Mumbai chapter, and on my very own behalf, would like to thank you for taking your time out and sharing your talk here on this very important topic. So, and again, I would like to thank Vikram and the entire INIAS Mumbai chapter team for taking an effort for organizing this very event, contacting you and bringing you here on this platform. And I would also like to thank the most importantly, our very most active audiences, our students who have been here spending their time, because, on Saturday they have come here, and asking questions is a very beautiful, quality. So I would like to pat on all the students back for being here and asking questions, and I would like to thank everyone for this lecture. Thank you so much, Arpita, and thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Shalini. It was absolutely a pleasure. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Have a nice weekend. Stay safe. and take care and keep doing and keep grabbing these opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.